period. Reason I say that, doggy, is because when a player, any player, but especially one of that magnitude, attacks you publicly like that, that weak-ass statement Commissioner Engelbert gave is not good enough. And I'm gonna say it, it was a weak-ass statement. Could you imagine somebody directing comments and criticisms at you, taking conversations they've had with you directly and telling the world what you said? And did you see that statement Commissioner Engelbert gave? She basically provided no defense of herself. I don't have the statement right directly in front of me, y'all.
Mischaracterization.
A mischaracterization.
She was disheartened.
I'm disheartened that the
Adam Silver just pulled the trigger Fever fans have been screaming for. He fired Cathy Engelbert. Yes, the same commissioner who once thought Caitlin Clark should be bowing down in thanks just got thrown out like last week's garbage. The league is now in chaos and the fire is only getting hotter. Do you think this move came too late, or should she have walked away on her own before it got this ugly? Cathy Engelbert is gone, fired, booted, tossed straight out of her cushy office chair into the unemployment line. All because she couldn't keep her mouth shut about Caitlin Clark. This is the same commissioner who thought it was clever to say Clark should be on her knees thanking the league. The same commissioner who turned a blind eye while Alyssa Thomas threw elbows, while refs swallowed whistles, and then acted shocked when fans blasted the product. And finally, Adam Silver, the boss of bosses, said, "Enough is enough." It had been building for a while. Napheesa Collier dragged her in public. Sophie Cunningham called her straight up delusional. Lexi Hull backed the player revolt. And Fever fans? They were already planning boycotts. No commissioner can survive that storm. Let's run it back. Napheesa didn't hold back in her exit interview.
This past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because.
She flat out torched Engelbert. She said leadership in the WNBA is the worst in all professional sports. She accused Engelbert of dismissing injuries, ignoring players, and pretending everything was fine while referees turned games into a circus. And then came the knockout punch. Engelbert told her that Caitlin Clark should be grateful the WNBA exists because without it, she'd have nothing. Really, Cathy? Let's not forget, Clark was packing arenas in college. She had multi-million-dollar sponsors before she even left Iowa. The league didn't build her. She brought the spotlight to the league, and that's why Engelbert is out the door tonight. She had more people watching one college game than some WNBA playoff series have ever dreamed of pulling. And Engelbert's genius move was to tell Caitlin Clark she should be grateful? That's like telling Taylor Swift she owes her career to an open mic night at a karaoke bar. Ridiculous. That smug attitude is why Adam Silver had to act. Let's be real. Caitlin Clark didn't just join the WNBA, she saved it from becoming irrelevant. She boosted attendance, spiked TV ratings, attracted sponsors, and even sparked new media deals. She brought in a flood of fresh fans who weren't even checking for the league before. And instead of protecting her, Engelbert let her get hacked and bruised every night on the floor. Think about it. Clark was getting clobbered while refs swallowed their whistles, and anyone who dared to speak up paid the price. Even Fever head coach Stephanie White caught a fine just for echoing what Cheryl Reeve had already said. That's how deep the silencing went. Coaches couldn't tell the truth, players couldn't tell the truth, and fans pointing out the obvious were painted as toxic. That's when Adam Silver had to step in, because this wasn't just about Clark anymore. The whole league was spiraling. Engelbert couldn't connect with her players, couldn't control the refs, and treated the W like some corporate boardroom meeting instead of a league built on blood, sweat, and passion. And speaking of refs, fans have been yelling all season about the inconsistency. Players, too. The games got so physical it looked like pro wrestling sometimes. And Engelbert's response? She stood at the podium and said, "We have the best refs in the world." Best in the world? These are the same refs who couldn't even call a flagrant when somebody practically got body slammed into the scorer's table. Even Becky Hammond said it herself.
Let me clarify first, because it's proxy season, right? No CEO do you just put the base pay in there. You put their bonus, you put their stock options, you put everything. Caitlin has the ability to make up to $500,000 just in WNBA wages this year. So, of course, they're just looking at a base which is collectively bargained. And actually, it's low. Because she's the #1 pick, she'll make a little more than that. But she also has millions and millions of dollars of endorsements. She's actually, because she declared to become pro, her endorsements are higher in dollar value. She has a global platform now, not just a U.S. platform. So, she's going to do just fine, as will the top players in the league, as every league does. Also, there's comparisons to the men. Those men's leagues are 75 to 120 years old. We're tipping off our 28th season. I would say if you looked at them 28 seasons in, we're further ahead. But I realize we still have a lot of work to do.
If the NBA ever had this kind of chaos, players would be throwing punches every single night. But in the WNBA, they let it slide, like the drama was some kind of marketing plan. Drama might sell headlines, but not when your biggest star is on the floor clutching her ribs while the ratings dip. Drama doesn't look so fun when Nafisa Collier is sidelined with ankle injuries. Drama doesn't look so fun when fans start saying, "I'm done," and stop showing up to games. That's exactly what played out. Ratings slipped, attendance flatlined outside of fever matchups, and Engelbert kept grinning and saying everything was fine. That's exactly why Adam Silver stepped in with the hammer. The WNBA was handed a golden goose in Caitlin Clark, and instead of protecting her, Engelbert practically cooked it over an open fire. Now let's talk about timing. Some will argue Silver dragged his feet. Others will say he was quick. But the truth is, he moved at the exact moment the league was ready to collapse in on itself. You can't have players going viral every week blasting their own commissioner. You can't have MVPs and All-Stars calling leadership negligent. And you definitely can't have Clark's massive fan base threatening to walk away. Silver didn't just fire Engelbert to punish her. He did it to save the WNBA before it crumbled. Because here's the reality. The NBA may not want to say it out loud, but Clark is the money machine. She's the reason the network signed a blockbuster media rights deal. She's the reason advertisers finally jumped in. She's the reason those arenas are packed. Without her, the WNBA is right back to begging ESPN2 for some random Tuesday night slot. Engelbert had the nerve to belittle Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's exactly why she's unemployed tonight. But let's not crown Adam Silver a hero just yet.
I have prepared a statement that I would like to make before taking any questions. All right. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Mercury for advancing to the finals. And I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached level.
He didn't suddenly wake up and realize Engelbert was bad at her job. Players and fans had been screaming it for months. The real reason this firing went down? Money was on the line. The NBA saw sponsorship slipping, fans threatening boycotts, and even rival leagues like Unrivaled starting to look like a threat. Think about it. If Clark had ever said, "I'm done with this league," it would have been a death sentence. Silver couldn't let it reach that point. So Engelbert's gone. But now the big question is, who takes her place? This is where things get complicated. The next commissioner can't just be a business exec with a spreadsheet. The league needs someone who understands basketball, someone who can connect with players and actually build trust again. Because here's the truth. The job isn't just about cutting media deals anymore. It's about repairing the damage Engelbert left behind. Players need to feel valued instead of brushed off. Fans need to feel respected instead of treated like background noise. And that's not easy because she left scorched earth. Angry players, frustrated fans, referees with zero accountability, and a league office obsessed with PR spin instead of reality. Whoever steps in has to start with the officiating. Because until that disaster is fixed, nothing else matters. And don't get it twisted. This entire firing is about Caitlin Clark. She's the center of the storm. Her treatment on the court, her dismissal off it, and her insane importance to the league are the reasons Silver finally pulled the plug. And here's the wild twist. Engelbert thought Clark needed the WNBA more than the WNBA needed her. But it was the complete opposite. The league needed Clark, and now it has to prove it values her before she decides she's better off elsewhere. So here we are, a commissioner fired in the middle of a scandal that's far from over. A fan base furious but finally holding on to a little hope. A league scrambling to patch up its reputation. And Caitlin Clark, for the first time all season, might actually feel like the people in charge are taking her seriously. But don't get it twisted, this doesn't fix everything. Firing Cathy Engelbert is only step one. The W still has a mountain of issues. Sloppy officiating, uneven discipline, zero real communication with players, and a culture of fines instead of accountability. The new commissioner has to flip that script fast, or the league's cracks will split wide open. And here's something people better not overlook.
A leader of an organization, how are you not close with the stars of the organization? And the dilemma right now in the WNBA is that the star players, the Asias, the Stewies, the Sabrinas, the Caitlin Clarks, they don't have a good enough relationship with the leader. The Nafisas, they don't have a good enough relationship with Cathy Engelbert. She came in and she wants all the credit for everything, but there's not enough communication between the leader and between the players. And now you got a revolt. Now everybody in the W is like, hold on, we want you up out of there. But I think the best thing I heard is, how can you negotiate if you don't communicate? And the dilemma is there's not even a negotiation, a quality negotiation right now between the players and between the W, because there's not quality communication right now between the players and between the...
Notice how quick Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull jumped in to back Nafisa Collier? That wasn't random. That was a straight-up coordinated revolt. The players smelled blood at the top and they pounced. And honestly, good for them. Because without that pressure, without that viral firestorm, Silver might have let Engelbert limp along a little longer. Instead, she's out, and the WNBA will never be the same. But this is where things get messy. Engelbert is gone, but the fallout, just getting started. And let's be clear, Adam Silver didn't fire her because he suddenly cares about players. He fired her because she embarrassed the brand. When you've got Nafisa Collier, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull all going viral blasting their own commissioner, that's not just drama, that's a crisis. You can't spin your way out of that. Silver had to protect the NBA's investment. Because remember, well, this isn't just about women's basketball. The WNBA's media rights are tied directly to the NBA's billion-dollar leverage. And the moment Engelbert ran her mouth about Clark needing to be grateful, she risked those deals. Silver wasn't about to let one commissioner's arrogance blow up billion-dollar contracts. You don't mess with the golden goose. And in the WNBA, that goose is Caitlin Clark. Everything revolves around her. This is a second-year pro, no longer a rookie, and she's already dragged the Fever into the spotlight, shattered ratings records, and become the face of the league, whether the rest of the players like it or not. And how did Engelbert respond? By brushing off her impact, dismissing her injuries, and treating her like some pawn in a corporate sustainability game. That's not leadership. That's sabotage. And Nafisa Collier pulled the curtain back perfectly. She said Engelbert literally told her, "Only losers complain about the refs." So let's break that down. Fever fans who wanted fairness? Losers. Coaches like Stephanie White asking for consistency? Losers. Players getting hacked every night with no whistle? Losers. That was Engelbert's whole mindset. And then she doubled down with an even wilder claim, almost saying Clark's endorsements only exist because of the WNBA. Please. Clark had national sponsorships lined up before she even touched a WNBA court. She was the most marketable college athlete since Zion Williamson, selling out arenas coast to coast like a rock star. The truth is simple. The league needed her, not the other way around. That arrogance, that blindness to reality, is why Engelbert's packing boxes tonight. But here's where Adam Silver played it cold and smart. He didn't let Engelbert slide out quietly with a resignation letter. He fired her. He made it crystal clear the NBA lost confidence in her leadership. And that matters, because it shows players the league office isn't untouchable anymore. Speak up, push back, and real change can happen. Collier proved it. Sophie Cunningham proved it. Lexi Hull proved it. The pressure worked. But let's not fool ourselves. This story is far from over. Engelbert may be gone, but the WNBA's officiating mess is still front and center. And until that's cleaned up, no firing will fix the deeper rot. Fans aren't blind. They see the crooked whistles, the favoritism, the targeting, and the nonsense ejections. Engelbert getting fired doesn't magically fix that. The new commissioner has to step in and flip the whole system. Full-time refs, real accountability, and actual transparency. Because until that happens, nothing changes. And let's be real, the refs became the headline of the season. Bigger than Clark's scoring explosions, bigger than Boston's dominance, even bigger than Angel Reese's drama. Think about how bad that is. Week after week, fans aren't debating highlights. They're talking blown calls, cheap ejections, and suspensions that make zero sense. That tells you everything about how far the product sank under Engelbert's watch. Now zoom out. The WNBA had a golden window handed to them on a silver platter. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Aaliyah Boston, and Paige Buecher's on the way. The spotlight was finally here. And what happened? Engelbert fumbled it. Ratings dipped outside of Clark's games, players grew fed up, fans got angry, and rival leagues like Unrivaled smelled blood in the water. Silver knew it too. That's why he had to move now. Because here's the nightmare scenario. If Clark ever said, "I'm done," and bolted to Unrivaled, it's game over. Imagine 1 million fans tuning in to watch her outside the WNBA. The NBA couldn't risk that. That's why Engelbert is gone tonight. So now the question is, who's next? Here's what the new commissioner has to do, no debate. 1. Fix officiating immediately. No excuses, no spin. Players can't keep getting hacked to death with no whistle. Fans deserve basketball, not UFC. 2. Value the stars. Clark, Reese, Boston. They are the product. Protect them, market them, and stop acting like the league is bigger than them. It's not. Without stars, there is no league. 3. Build trust with players. No more fines for simply telling the truth. No more brushing off injuries. No more arrogance from the top. The next commissioner has to be visible, approachable, and actually care about the people who make the league run, the players and the fans. Because here's the cold reality. The WNBA cannot survive another Engelbert. They barely made it through this one. Now let's talk about the fans, especially Fever fans, because they've been furious all season long. They watched their superstar get targeted every game. They watched refs swallow whistles on obvious fouls. They watched their own coach get fined just for telling the truth. And now, finally, they see Engelbert fired. But justice isn't enough. Fans want consistency. They want transparency. They want to know that when they buy tickets and tune in, they're not watching a rigged show. And if the league can't deliver that, fans will walk away. We've already seen it happening. Games without Clark are pulling pitiful ratings, half-empty arenas, and silence on social media. Fans aren't loyal to a logo. They're loyal to players. And if the league keeps mistreating those players, the fans will follow them wherever they go. That's why Adam Silver needs a plan. Because firing Engelbert was only step 1. Step 2 is making sure the next commissioner doesn't repeat the same mistakes. And let's be real, Engelbert was never a fit. She came from Deloitte, a corporate boardroom, not a basketball culture. She could talk about money, sure, but she couldn't talk to the players who are the product. Yes, she landed media deals. Yes, she secured billion-dollar contracts, but at what cost? You can cash TV checks all day, but if the product is unwatchable, it doesn't matter. That's the paradox of Engelbert's reign. On paper, she grew the league, but in reality, she alienated the very people who give it life. And that's why she's gone. So where does this leave us now? A league with its commissioner fired in disgrace, a fan base that's louder than ever, and a superstar in Caitlin Clark who just proved she has the kind of power no one can ignore. Engelbert thought she could minimize her, downplay her, and control the narrative. And look where that got her, out of a job. The truth is simple. Clark isn't just a player, she's the engine. She drives ticket sales, she drives TV numbers, she drives sponsorships, and she even drives rival leagues to pay attention. And now everyone sees it clear as day. Without Clark, the WNBA has nothing to sell. With Clark, the WNBA has a global spotlight. That's why Adam Silver had no choice but to act when Engelbert's arrogance put all of that at risk. But don't get it twisted. Silver didn't suddenly become the player's best friend. He stepped in because money and image were on the line. He knew if Clark ever hinted at walking away, the entire house of cards would collapse. Imagine her suiting up for Unrivaled or any other competitor. The WNBA would be done overnight. And that's the tension hanging over everything right now. Players are watching to see if the next commissioner actually listens. Fans are waiting to see if the league can clean up the officiating and stop punishing truth-tellers. And Clark? She's at the center of it all. The player Engelbert dismissed, the player Silver couldn't afford to lose, and the player who just might decide how the next decade of women's basketball looks. So yeah, Engelbert's firing was a bombshell, but it was only the beginning. The spotlight is hotter than ever, the pressure is higher than ever, and the margin for error? Gone. One wrong move now, and the WNBA won't just lose games, it'll lose its future. Now, before we close this out, let's bring it back one last time to Caitlin Clark, because make no mistake, this firing is her victory. She didn't have to tweet, she didn't have to rant, she didn't even have to speak. Other players carried the torch, but everybody knows the truth between the lines. Protecting Clark is protecting the league. Losing her would have been losing everything. And here's the irony. In a twisted way, Engelbert wasn't wrong when she said Clark was the centerpiece, but she was dead wrong about who should be grateful. Clark doesn't need the WNBA. The WNBA needs her. And Adam Silver just proved it by pulling the trigger on his own commissioner. So here we are. Cathy Engelbert is out. Adam Silver made the call and the WNBA just changed forever. But that leaves one massive question hanging over everything. Will the next commissioner actually fix this mess? Or are we just watching the same script play out again under a new name? That's what I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think this is the real turning point or just smoke and mirrors? And don't forget, hit that like button, share this with your friends, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Trust me, this story is only getting started. See you on the next one.